They say the universe has a twisted sense of humor, right? Because only in New York could a billionaire nearly have a public meltdown over a fingerprint on his Ferrari. And only in this city could that meltdown be the beginning of something that would shake two lives to their core. When Zoe Washington walked up to that gleaming red SF-90 outside Bergdorf Goodman, nobody knew who she was. Not the doorman, not the well-dressed tourist snapping photos, and definitely not Nathaniel Brooks, who stormed out of the building as if someone had just keyed his soul. He barked at her to get away from his car, his voice echoing up Fifth Avenue with all the entitlement of someone used to never being questioned. Zoe, cool as ever, just stood there, hand on the hood, eyes wide, but not afraid, as if she'd been through storms bigger than some guy in a suit could ever imagine. And you know what? She had. What happened next was the sort of public collision that makes people rethink everything they thought they knew about class, about race, about what it means to really see someone. Let me back up a sec. Nathaniel, for all his Taylor perfection, wasn't staring at quarterly reports that morning, was lost in the kind of loneliness only people with too much money and not enough connection ever really understand. He built his world on innovation and ruthless ambition, but it's hard to be ruthless when your only real competitor is your own emptiness. His garage, full of automotive masterpieces, was his temple. His Ferrari SF-90, the one Zoe was admiring, was the altar. Zoe, on the other hand, was just wrapping up a transmission rebuild in Queens, sweat in her eyes, coffee stains on her coveralls, and the satisfaction of having done the impossible for a client who'd never even learned her name. You know, that kind of pride, the sort you can't buy, only earn? That was Zoe. Her hands, her reputation, her quiet joy, they came from years of pushing back against every limit, every stereotype, every assumption about who gets to be the best. So when these two collided on Fifth Avenue, it was never really about the car. Zoe saw right away the Ferrari's issues. She named them off without hesitation, embarrassing Nathaniel in front of an audience that suddenly realized the story unfolding was bigger than just a woman touching a man's car. He tried to put her down. She stood her ground. The crowd watched, waiting for someone to flinch. Then came the twist. Nathaniel's phone rang. His premium auto service, desperate, told him he needed an expert. And the only expert? Zoe. The crowd felt the shift, that moment when power changed hands, when the person you dismissed became your only hope. Nathaniel, humiliated, could do nothing but stand aside as Zoe calmly took the lead. But the real story didn't happen on the sidewalk. It happened hours later, in the sterile glow of Nathaniel's private garage. Zoe, sleeves rolled, focused on her work. Nathaniel, forced to watch as the person he'd underestimated became his teacher. And there, surrounded by tools and the quiet whir of diagnostic equipment, the walls started to crumble. At first, conversation was awkward. Nathaniel stumbling over apologies, Zoe not letting him off the hook. But as the hours passed, a different kind of dialogue began. They shared stories of their fathers. Both men lost too soon, both the kind of people who believed in hard work and honesty. Zoe talked about the endless battles of being a black woman in a field dominated by old white money. Nathaniel, stripped of all pretense, admitted the emptiness that comes from having everything except someone who understands you. A twist you didn't see coming. Nathaniel's business partner showed up, interrupting what was becoming something vulnerable and true. Faced with their judgment, Nathaniel did what he always did, shrank back into the armor of privilege, dismissing Zoe with cold, professional detachment. For a moment, you think that's a classic ending, another case of pride killing possibility. But Nathaniel wasn't done. He kicked his partners out. He blocked their numbers. He realized, finally, that a lifetime of chasing approval from the wrong people was worth nothing compared to one chance at something real with Zoe. He chased her through the city, found her sitting at a quiet subway stop in Queens. And there, under the harsh lights, he laid it all bare: his shame, his regret, his hope that maybe, just maybe, she'd let him try again. The apology wasn't perfect. How could it be? But it was real. And for Zoe, real was enough for now. 3 months later, Nathaniel's not just in Zoe's world as part of it. He's learned to get his hands dirty, literally. He's swapped boardrooms for workshops, donated buildings for a business, started scholarships for women in engineering. And through it all, he listens, not just to Zoe, but to the people he used to overlook. Together, they transformed the Ferrari that brought them together into a symbol of their new Purposia mobile service to help people across the city. Then, in a moment straight out of a movie, Nathaniel gives Zoe not just a ring, but the deed to her workshop. He proposes on a garage floor, covered in grease, surrounded by the tools of their trade and the memories of all they've built together. And Zoe says yes not to a perfect man, but to one willing to do the work, to keep trying, to keep learning what it means to love someone not for what they offer, but for who they are. Their wedding isn't a gala at some fancy hotel, it's in the workshop, with friends from every walk of life, mechanics and billionaires, students and mentors. Their first act as husband and wife, fixing a school bus so a group of kids can get to a field trip, because that's what matters, not what they can give, not what they can take. So here's the real question for you when it comes down to it. Would you have the courage to walk away from what's comfortable, to risk everything for what's right? Have you ever chosen to stand up for someone, even if it meant losing the approval of people you once thought mattered? Drop your thoughts below, because this isn't just a love story, it's a challenge. A reminder that change is possible, but only if we're brave enough to start with ourselves. If this story moved you, share your experience of facing judgment or fighting for second chances. How do you think justice, forgiveness, and true growth really happen in public, or in the quiet moments when nobody else is watching? Hit subscribe, join the conversation, and let's make sure these stories keep finding the people who need them most.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm.
It is cold, yeah. Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to.
Yeah, they're-
Use the fence.